So we have this big net. We've sent out the wedding invitation to all those people with all these different types of media. Now what happens is the buyer profile starts to respond. They're calling into our auction information center. They want information on the property. Not only do they want a brochure, they want specifics about the property. So we have a project manager assigned to every specific deal who's going to be able to work with our team of people who are going to implement the auction operations. Here's the kind of the call center, receives all incoming calls, enters it into the database so the seller can get a weekly report on what's happening, where are they getting, how's that working, where do they hear about the auction, et cetera, et cetera. Not only does it help them, it helps us for future marketing. This is very important, the property information package, in that sellers today want to know every little detail. How is it constructed? Was there asbestos in there? Tell me a little bit more about the techniques. When was it last sold? What's happening? Was there an appraisal recently? Every detail is online. If you go to our website, you would see that for any upcoming auction. If they want a hard copy, we can send it to them as well. There are bidder and broker online seminars available so that people get a little bit more familiar with the auction process. 2 weeks before the auction, depending, it might be 7 days only, depending on the type. I mean, if it's raw land, we don't need somebody out there 2 weeks. One of our site directors showing raw land and spending the seller's money to cover our site director. Okay, so now the buyers we're educating them, they're coming, and we're trying to, our people are trained not to sell, but to encourage them to come to the auction, to give them the peace of mind that this is legit, this is really happening, the seller is serious, you're going to have a good opportunity to buy, come on auction day. And now we're building to the event, to the ceremony, if you will. We do have a broker incentive program, like I mentioned, for this project here. If you look on our website, you'll find out. It can be usually what happens is, to get the buyer broker to be really involved in a project, we ask the buyer broker to really work with their buyer and show them that there's value in this property. And so we ask for opening bids, written opening bids, 48 hours before the auction. And if that bidder wins at auction, the buyer broker will get 2 or 3% of the opening bid. So you want to put in a high opener if you want to get compensated very well, and then they would get 1% of the difference. $3 million property, you convinced your buyer to open at $2 million. And he is the eventual winner on the floor at $3 million. So under a 3-1 scenario, the buyer broker would get 3% of the opener, which was $2 million, and 1% of the difference. 3 million minus 2 million is $1 million. So he's got 3% of 2 million, 1% of $1 million. Whatever that all worked out to. It's nice money. Okay, so the winning bidder must deposit a 10% down payment on the day of the auction. They sign a contingency-free agreement. They close in 30 days. The auction industry has a really high closing rate. And our closing rate is over 99.5% if you look at all of our deals. That is on anything we put under contract. We may not get a contract.
That's a cash offer?
Not necessarily. It's, they may have financing. In other words, the buyer has to have all of his ducks in a row. So when he's signing the contract,
it's a cash.
Yeah.
So if ever it doesn't close in the 30 days, where goes the escrow money, the 10% down payment?
It goes with the escrow agent.
Is it split between the listing agent, and you?
The down payment? No, yeah. The 10% down payment, let's say we under this $3 million deal, he put down 10%, he or she, that's $300,000 down. So in 30 days, they got to come up with the difference, either in cash or whatever their financing is. If they don't come up with that and forfeit, which hardly ever happens in the auction business, then actually they forfeit their $300,000, and that money typically is split 50% to the auction company and 50% to the seller.
Oh, so the broker bring you the deal doesn't get anything.
You would get 20% of our part of the deal, like I talked about earlier, or whatever percentage you're at. Could be 25.
Is it standard in the auction business?
What is that?
this 20% of the split you're taking, or 20% of the commission?
It depends, yeah. I mean, if you do more deals with, yeah, it's our minimum. If you do more deals with us, you know, over time, and you're a constant referring agent, then we're going to obviously want to compensate you more. Yeah, for no work. I mean, you did their introduction. That's a lot of work. Auction day, you know, just some scenes from auction day, and that was pretty much it as far as that goes. So why don't we take some questions? Ray, do you want to stand up and, you know, work with me on the questions? Yes, ma'am.
What is the cost for the seller? Meaning, can he interfere in your marketing campaign regarding the costs that you're going to incur for the marketing campaign of that said property? And what is the percentage that in the end he has to pay for the auction company?
Okay, the seller, before we get into an agreement with him, would have a detailed budget from us, or detailed proposal, I should say, of what the costs are going to be for those three components: exposure, education, and closure. And then either he will approve or disapprove, or we will negotiate to some type of happy medium. And by that I mean, sometimes the people today are so tight they don't have the marketing money. Let's say a typical marketing campaign would cost anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000. You know, when you think about it, Wall Street Journal National 4 times, you know, that's 40,000 right there. And then you do all the other local newspapers 3 or 4 times. You mail out 14,000 of the 15,000 brochures. You do the internet, Google AdWords of $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Add all that stuff up, project management, site direction, et cetera, you come up with a total marketing budget. Now, depending on the type of auction, we might be able to credit at closing some of the marketing money back to the seller. Maybe.
You were talking about 5% of the selling price if it's the basic $2 million already taken out, just for the marketing campaign and the cost.
Right, and that would be the seller's typically only cost of the sale. In those type of specific situations, we may in fact use what's called the buyer's premium, which we haven't talked about much here. You know, Barrett-Jackson uses it on car auctions. Sotheby's uses it on art auctions. Basically, we bid to the highest price, and then we might add a 10% buyer's premium to that. That 10% buyer's premium actually forms the contract price that would be used for the closing price. Yes, Paul?
Are usually...
Actually, a lot of these questions could be asked if you take a few minutes and go to our website. It was voted the #1 website in the auction industry, National Auctioneers Association, I think the last 2 out of 3 years. And it won a Summit Award for the marketing 5 continents, but a lot of this is answered. And if you go and look at a PIP on one of our properties, property information package, which is usually complete 30 days before the auction, you'll see all the information that's available to sellers, including a title commitment and search.
Answering your question some more, if the seller doesn't have all of that money, more and more today we normally didn't have to go to the bank except for the release letter for the absolute units. Now today we're going to the bank to see if they would cooperate in advancing some of that marketing money.